Dark Souls 3 is by far my favorite entry in the Souls series, and this one boasts 19 bosses, 6 of which are optional. And while it may not have as many bosses as Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2, it makes up in quantity with great quality. This is a list of my favorite bosses from Dark Souls 3. Please note that I'm not ranking these by difficulty, I'm just ranking them by how much I like each. But first, one thing of note. It's a darn shame that Irithel Dungeon doesn't have its own boss. You just go through the area and then end up in the Profane Capital. And sure, you might be saying that Yorm the Giant is the boss of Irithel Dungeon, but maybe the Profane Capital could have been made a little bit bigger, because Irithel Dungeon was pretty big by itself, and making Profane Capital a little bit bigger, you could have had a boss in Irithel Dungeon. Maybe a big jailer boss or something like that. I know this is a nitpick, but I like all of my areas having bosses. And my second nitpick is the fact that the Bell Gargoyles didn't make a comeback this time. We faced them in Dark Souls and in Dark Souls 2, but they got no love in Dark Souls 3, and I for one was saddened to discover that instead of fighting 2 or 6 gargoyles, we didn't get to fight 10 of them. Am I the only one that really feels that way? Am I the only one that loves the Bell Gargoyles? Anyway, without further ado, let's get down to the list. The Ancient Wyvern. He lays at the bottom of the list because, in all honesty, this boss is boring. You run to some ramparts, jump, plunge attack, and the fight is over. I love spectacle fights, but this one was far from it. I feel this boss was lazily designed. Instead of one-shotting him with a plunge attack, perhaps he could have had multiple stages, making it harder for you every time you wanted to plunge attack him, making the way to the plunge longer and higher, ending up with a plunge attack from impossibly high. Now, could you imagine that? Instead, we just have a bunch of minor enemies in the way that you could completely and utterly ignore on your way to the dragon, so I don't even qualify that as a boss, more like an obstacle. Old Demon King. The only reason this guy isn't at the bottom of the list is because you actually fight him, unlike the Ancient Worm. And of course, the battle arena is interesting, providing piles of dead demons to protect yourself against the Old King's attacks, including those giant meteors he likes to call down. Now, the boss has a very cool desperation attack where he blows up, dealing mountains of damage to you if you get caught, but it then leaves himself vulnerable long enough for you to kill him. He is interesting, but sadly, he is just like many of the other giant demon dudes you fight in the game anyway, so that's why this guy is at the bottom of the list. Champion Gundyr does not joke around. This guy will brutalize you and give you very little breathing room. However, his number 16 spot is due to the fact that we already fought him as the tutorial boss, and besides being fast and hitting hard, he doesn't really bring anything new to the table. He does seem cool and he moves cool, but I would have rather have something different there. Heck, maybe Champion Gundyr could have been the tutorial boss, and then Eudix Gundyr could have been the hidden boss in the unintended graves, with all the black blobby things coming out of it. Osiris the Consumed King. He is a king turned into a dragon-like creature. He has a breath weapon, and possibly has an invisible baby that dies during the course of the fight. Who knows? This guy is definitely weird. His fight is interesting though. He has a breath weapon that shoots crystal, much like Seath the Scaleless. And at the beginning of the fight, he does have his trusty staff that can be used to shoot magic at you. But during the course of the fight, he drops his baby, or you kill his baby, and he goes into an all-out rage. Some people are saying that maybe he doesn't have Ocelot there with him, and maybe it's in his brain, it's in his mind. But you do hear the baby yourself, so maybe it's in your mind too. What I think is the baby is actually invisible. Who knows? And maybe you do kill it accidentally and he drops it in the floor during the course of the fight. I know it's horrible, but this is Dark Souls at the end of the day. The Crystal Sage reminds me of a slightly better version of Pinwheel. He's a spellcaster he can split into multiple forms, and he can disappear and reappear. If only this guy would have been a little bit more aggressive with his attacks, he would have been higher on this list, but sadly his attacks are slow, they're very telegraphed, and you can always tell which one is the real Crystal Sage because he's purple. Don't hold back your punches that much from software, just let us fight a real good spellcaster next time. And the Dancer. This is definitely a very fun one, and man oh man does it feel good to dodge through its spin attack. It makes you feel like a total badass, and to those of you who can beat the Dancer in the early game without using the Swordmaster glitch, I salute you because you can actually fight this guy before Vorth of the Boreal Valley. However you beat him, I have no idea. You must definitely be a master player because I think maybe a single 2 hits, you're down. This fight is fun. Just seeing this thing coming at you with both swords and again just being able to dodge through every single of those attacks feels amazing. Eudex Gundyr is definitely my favorite tutorial boss of all the Souls series, better than the Vanguard Demon because that thing is there just to kill you, and the Asylum Demon, honestly, that guy was kinda lame. He didn't really do much and he was slow, and Dark Souls 2 didn't even have a tutorial boss, and I don't think that Bloodborne had one either. So yeah, from 3, Eudex Gundyr was definitely the best one. Now, if you're just coming into the Souls series, this guy could give you a really hard time because he hits hard. And he is fast, especially when you fight his second stage. It is so dreadful. I'm not kidding. The first time I fight this guy, he actually killed me, and more than once. I mean, it goes to show that 100% damage reducing shield goes a long way, because the first time I started playing, I started with the assassin class because I like the S-Talk. It's a really cool weapon, but I am really bad at parrying. I wouldn't be surprised if people have literally gone to Eudex Gundyr and stopped playing completely. Dragon Slayer Armor, or Dragon Slayer ARMR as it's written, this empty suit of armor controlled by weird butterflies, but even though he's just a dude in armor, his moveset will keep you on your toes. This guy is what the old Dragon Rider from Dark Souls 2 could have been. Big shield, big halberd, and all around awesomeness with his electric attacks running around, explosions, and fireballs raining from the sky. Honestly, this is all you want from a one-on-one fight against just a dude in armor. Aldrich the Devourer of Gods. Screw this guy. Seriously, screw him and his arrow attacks. If you are unlucky enough to be caught by the brunt of those arrows, be ready to become a pincushion and die. What I find annoying is how much this guy moves, teleporting from one side of the world to the next. All his projectiles makes me feel I'm in a 3D Toho game. However, with that said, I love his design, I love how he looks, I love the way he attacks. Even the damn arrow attack looks nifty, and I do enjoy running around, running away from all those projectiles, and just finally killing him feels so damn good. Soul of Cinder. While I do find this boss fight a bit underwhelming and disappointing for a final boss, it is in the end a fun boss. I am just disappointed that he doesn't switch combat styles more often in the first stage, and then when he goes into his second phase, his armor doesn't change to look more like Gwyn. I mean, he has the Gwyn fighting style, but he doesn't look physically like Gwyn, and I would have loved to see like a flaming version of Gwyn. Kind of sad that the final boss is just a dude in armor, and after having so many spectacle bosses, this guy is, like I said before, underwhelming. There's no big spectacle, there's no big meteors raining from the sky, fire pillars, and things like that. The next two bosses are in this spots because of what they could have been. The Abyss Watchers are a bit weak sauce for being one of the big four lords, but being underwhelming as well. If only it would have had more hell during the first stage and more Abyss Watchers would have woken up. Imagine a skirmish between you and 5 Abyss Watchers against 5 other Abyss Watchers. Now that would have been a great clash of epic proportions. Maybe a couple of them starting using fire, a couple of them using electricity, a couple of them using dark, and maybe even a couple of them using frost. But just having 2 against 2 and they wake up really late, and the fact that you can parry this boss and you can backstab it and you can drain itself so fast, it just makes me think of what the Abyss Watchers could have actually been. Oh, Deacons, I love you, but you are just so underwhelming. Such a big arena and so few Deacons. As it is satisfying using a big weapon and sweeping through them. But imagine if the whole arena was filled with Deacons and you had to push through hundreds of Deacons to find your mark, taking down 5 to 7 Deacons with every swing of your weapon and them just amassing around you. Now that would have been awesome. Sadly, they're all crumpled up in the entry of the arena and you never see that many Deacons, so I would have wished it would have actually been a multitude of them. Hundreds upon hundreds of them that would actually been a little bit more difficult, that they could just obliterate you if you're not careful. But as it is, with a big weapon, this fight is no contest. But I do like the idea of it. I do like the idea of horde battles, and I would love to see another gank battle like this, but even bigger. The Nameless King, Gwyn's firstborn and traitor, lover of dragons. What annoys me about the first phase is that sometimes I can't tell how close the head of the dragon is, and I end up attacking the air, and that happens constantly. However, once you slay the dragon, be ready to be on your toes because the Nameless King is out for blood, and if you're not ready, he will make quick work out of you. Imagine a pumped up version of Super Ornstein, because that's basically what he is. Flying around the arena, shooting lightning bolts at you. It's like Gwyn and Ornstein came together, did the fusion dance, and that's what the Nameless King is. This guy is so much fun to just roll around him, block his attacks, and once you finally kill him, it is so satisfying to see him fall and become only ashes. The Cursed Rotted Greatwood. I love me some spectacle fights, man. And the first time I fought this guy, once the floor gave out, I thought I was done for and that this fight was total BS. Just to be greeted by a disgusting arm crawling from the inside of this rotted great wood. And running around looking for X-Sacs to pop might be disgusting, but it's so satisfying when this thing's health takes a huge hit because of popping those pus-filled pustules or disgusting X-Sacs or whatever you want to call them. I know it's weird putting the Cursed Rotted Greatwood above Nameless King, but it's just the idea of that giant tree with the arms sticking out and you looking for those X-Sacs and them popping and that thing taking a huge hit. I don't know, and that thing just standing up and falling down to try to crush you. I love me the spectacles. Pontiff Sullivan. 2 big swords, wings, and an after-image techniques makes this guy a very fun boss to fight against. His attacks hurt bad, and it's so much fun watching him take to the air and come crashing down. This guy is a total badass. Just goes to show that you don't always have to be a dude in armor, you can also be a dude in robes and still look cool. I mean, imagine yourself facing a guy that is wearing robes. He's just a pontiff, but he has an ultra great sword encased in fire and a great sword encased in magic. What are you gonna do? And then his after image technique does the same thing he does. However, sure, you can use his after image to know where his attacks are gonna land, because in reality it's not an after image, it's more of a before image, and you can, however, destroy that image so it doesn't bother you ever again. However, come to think about it, I'm not entirely sure if he can just summon another one. Probably he could, but honestly, by that time he should already be dead. If not, what are you doing? Bjorn the Giant. Do not try taking this guy down by conventional means. I mean, you can. But you're probably gonna have a bad, long time while you take him down, chipping away at his health. And to be honest, I adore using the Storm Ruler and just blasting through this guy. Even better when I have Sigurd and more summons next to me and we just go all out on him. Poor bastard doesn't even stand a chance. What's a shame though is you can't wear his cool Shane Coif and crown combo. I wish you could just buy his armor as well as you can other bosses. Also the Dragon Slayer armor, you can't have his armor, and I like his silver colored armor instead of the golden one that Ornstein has with a really ugly lion head. High Lord Wolnir, barring the BS poison cloud at the bottom of this guy that just utterly obliterates you if you stay there for more than 1 second. I love running after his hands to break away his bracelets, and to see him summon his giant sword to make those big attacks are a treat to my eyes. Kinda lame that he can summon skeletons, but you know, he is sort of like the Nito of this game. Sort of the skeleton lords, and I love how he looks. The giant skeleton with the giant sword that you can't see his legs. This guy is orgasmic to my eyes. I just love fighting him. I love spectacle fights, and to me this was the best and coolest fight in all of the Soul series until I saw Lothric and Lorien. I have no idea what it is about these guys, but they just scream Final Fantasy to me. Like a very dark and gritty Final Fantasy. Having a swordsman that can teleport to attack you is a very welcome change from the usual teleporting wizard. And the second form is even more fun, having to kill Lorien once more to be able to beat Lothric to a pulp, just to have Lothric revive Lorien again. Just rinse and repeat as needed until they are both dead. Not to mention that Lorien has one of the coolest armor sets in the whole game. Just the whole cutscenes at the beginning of the fight, the way they talk to you while they're fighting, the way they talk to you after you kill them is just... Man, this could have been the final boss, and I would have been extremely, extremely happy. Of course, I would have liked to, because I like summoning phantoms. I like having people with me. I like, you want to be summoned, get XP? Sure. You're a sun bro? I want you to get your sun medals. I love co-op. And I would have loved if they would have done the same thing they did in previous games, where the more people you summon, the more HP the boss has, so it can last longer. That is something I would have really liked to see in this game. Bosses with more HP, because I love fighting Lothric and Lorien, and I would have loved to have the fight be even longer than what it was. For what it is, it works the way it is. I adore it, and I always look forward to fighting these guys every time I start a new game. And that's the list. What did you think? Agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for liking this video, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing this video. I'll see you all next time. ARMR out!